Hello, 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 hello. So I thought I would come back on and do some ASMR cartomancy for you. Probably just going to say tarot in the title. I hope the semantics professors won't go too hard on me on that account. Sometimes I put stuff in the title, people don't actually watch the video, and then they say stuff in the comments that I have to delete. So, oh, actually, I'm a little bit hot. This is a really nice merino wool sweater from Banana Republic that I bought at the secondhand store today for $8. I have become such a fabric content slut. And yet today, I'm going to be reading for you this little card box. I don't know how well this is going to come through. It says read 'em and weep. And I actually found these Christian playing cards that I'm going to use for the readings. They all have Bible verses on them. And I'm going to leave the end cards in because it mentions the New International Version, which I feel like was written specifically for Timothy Leary. Like, you guys probably know me by now. I want the original text. My Tanakh, the two versions of the Tanakh that I have are both in storage right now. I need to figure that out because King James Version clearly tainted by the hubris of the British monarchy. Oh yeah, there's a blank card in here too. So that'll be fun. That'll be fun. We might get some visitors too, because I'm up on the 2 tonight. I am drinking a little bit of wine. Not a lot. But I was sober for 10 years, and now I'm able to drink like an adult, and I think we should all celebrate that. So, we are going to start with the sign of Aries. So that's going to be at like 3:40. And I am going to write the timestamps down. Oh yeah, my shirt from Fuck You Baker on Tumblr, Built of Sin. It's got a really cool design on the back too. Give it one more, because this might go hard for you Aries. These are Bible verses after all. I also have my walnut for scrying. Bought that at the secondhand store today. I just got all kinds of finds from the secondhand store today, so we're gonna have fun with that. Ooh, yeah, we got 7 of Wands, we got 9 of Hearts, 10 of Swords. Oh, we got 3 10s. So maybe I didn't shuffle these like... No, I did, because I separated them by suit. So what that means is I shuffled, like, real well. And the Joker. Both of the Jokers reference the devil. Be self-controlled and alert. Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. Resist him, standing firm in the faith, because you know that your brothers throughout the world are undergoing the same kind of sufferings. And that is from the book of Peter. So Aries, be self-controlled. Let's talk about these 3 tens. I'm not going to read through every single card. I will tell you the book and verse if you want to know. I know I'm speaking a little evangelical today. That's my upbringing. Yeah, what do we have? So the 3 tens that we have is the wands, the cups, and the swords. And swords is about the 10 commandments. It's from Deuteronomy. It's 4:11 through 13. And it's all about being delivered the 10 commandments. So you might be receiving information. The 10 of Swords is about endings. It's about painful endings. And obviously, when the 10 commandments were brought to the children of Israel, it was a reaction to a lot of what they had been through in previous situations. They had just come out of Egypt. They were wandering through the desert, right? And so here they come to be delivered these rules because they were... Moses caught them worshiping the golden calf. Maybe the Apis bull, right? Maybe from one of the other religions that they'd picked up along the way. I mean, cows are very sacred. You know, we can't ignore that. Even in the face of a divine communion with our Lord and Savior. The cups. So this is from Matthew 20. It's verse 21 and then 23 through 24. And it's all about the 2 brothers who will sit at the right and the left hands of God in the kingdom. I'm going to admit that I'm not super familiar with this part. But when the 10 heard about this, they were indignant with the 2 brothers. So typically the 7s in the deck are the ones that are about people being haters. But in this one, the 10 of Cups, like, you cannot ignore that even when you've gotten to the pinnacle of your successes, as these 2 have, you will be... People will look at what you have and they will judge you for it and be jealous and punitive. But you have to understand the 10s are the ends of the cycles. So you will not be injured by that. It just means that your family interactions might be a little more awkward. 10 of Cups too, you're in a place where you're able to offer things to others. So keep that in the back of your mind as well. 10 of Cups is about building legacy. So here, that legacy is in the kingdom of God, but it can also be relating to how you shouldn't always give things to people in your family because they're the ones who have supported you. Sometimes you're going to have people come to you in their time of need, and you have to decide that you're going to help somebody whether you like them or not. And whether they're going to like you or not moving forward because of it. It's not as much about giving for the sake of the legacy, which is very tied to the tarot. And so I'm really glad that I got this deck of cards, because for those of you who have been following my spiritual journey and my venture into the Gnostic faith, I have strengthened my relationship with Jesus Christ and with the one true God, his entalithia snute being Io. I know a lot of people have baggage around the faith of Christianity, and that is not what Jesus is about at all. So the third 10 that we have is the 10 of Wands. This is Luke 15, verses 8 through 10. I am going to read this one because I feel like the context is better. Suppose a woman has 10 silver coins and loses one. Does she not light a lamp, sweep the house, and search carefully until she finds it? And when she finds it, she calls her friends and neighbors together and says, "Rejoice with me, I have found my lost coin." In the same way, I tell you, there is rejoicing in the presence of the angels of God over one sinner who repents. This deck is really good, actually. I think it is exactly what I needed at this point in my life. Because the 10 of Wands, a lot of you will recall, is about burdens. And any of you who have lost something understand what a burden that can be. And what a burden it must be to the Almighty when we are not willing to examine and repent our sins and move forward from them in a meaningful way. I speak having my own burdens too. I don't come to you as this totally washed, clean, and purified creature, judging. A lot of what the Bible says is very valid and very helpful. And I really hate that people co-opt it and try to make it into something it is not, to serve their own purposes. As I mentioned before, that's one of the main issues I have with King James Version, New International Version. It's kind of hippified sometimes. So now let's talk about the 7 of Wands and the 9 of Cups. So 9 of Cups is about the fight between David and Goliath, and they're basically just describing Goliath. A champion named Goliath, who was from Gath, came out of the Philistine camp. He was over 9 feet tall. He had a bronze helmet on his head and wore a coat of scale armor of bronze weighing 5,000 shekels. On his legs he wore bronze greaves, and a bronze javelin was strung on his back. And that's the first book of Samuel, 17, verses 4 through 6. So all of this together what we're looking at is this literally like a bronze god. You're standing there in your perfection. Now, granted, David does take down Goliath, but that was due to hubris on their part. And you can't look at that when you're looking at the 9 of Cups. We did also get the 10 of Cups. And I actually heard like a really oppositional reading of the Nine of Cups recently, where usually it's a card of perfection, right? This is a card of everything being at paradigm. Satiation. And I've also heard it read as a card of being overly satiated. The caution with the Nine of Cups is that because you haven't reached the end of that cycle, you have to be a little bit careful on the very last leg of that journey to the Ten of Cups. And this goes back to your family members, Aries, where there might be family members around you who are very critical, very judgmental, maybe don't have your best interest at heart. Which I hate that for you. Honestly, you deserve so much better. They see you as Goliath and themselves as David. And it shouldn't be like that in family, you know? With this Nine of Cups, what you have is an opportunity to reach out to those people before they get to the point where they're so in need that they feel like they need to beg you for money, or they're putting up their GoFundMe and you feel obligated to donate, right? It's better to reach out to your family members before that, before they get to that point. Yes, and the Seven of Wands, where we're talking about, this one's from Genesis 7, and verses 7 through 10, and it's about Noah and the ark. And he's talking about bringing all of the animals onto the ark, and then 7 days later, there's the floodwaters. And Seven of Wands, we often read in tarot based on the imagery of the wise and beautiful Pamela Coleman Smith, assisted by Arthur Waite. We look at the person standing on the top of the hill and we think about how others envy what we have. This isn't really like that. This is a point at which you've reached a certain level of prowess and orchestration comes to mind, but what's the word that I'm looking for? The word I'm looking for has to do with expertise. This isn't necessarily in work. The wands are more to do with creativity, and it's more to do with how you treat your successes rather than the material aspects of the success alone. And thus we're tying the fire energy into the concretion of earth. So with the Seven of Wands here, Noah had that spark, that divine knowledge sent to him from God, that there was going to be a flood. It might have been very difficult to convince his family, let alone anyone else, who he wasn't supposed to bring with him. That was the whole point. That danger was imminent and total destruction was unavoidable. It's almost, it's a little bit too like Cassandra from the Greek mythology. That she had tried so hard to plead her case and ended up not being able to convince people. So where in your own life, again, this might go back to this family situation. I'm getting a lot of images of my own family events. So this is going to be a brief tangent, but every Christmas, a lot of my dad's side of the family goes to one of the great aunt's houses, and there's a lot of food, and that's the one time of year when everyone gets together. And I'm getting a lot of images of that. I don't remember if I mentioned this on the channel before, but I think I have, actually, that there's a dirty Santa, and that the dirty Santa often gets very contentious. Yes, this is also the side of the family that has the tontine over the piece of land that is in Woodville, Florida. We love our families very much, don't we, Aries? And I think more than anything else, it's important not to wish harm on your family members. That's literally your blood, your ancestry. When you wish harm on your family members, you're wishing harm on part of yourself. Now, I don't say that because I'm trying to judge. It can be very difficult, especially I'm very privileged now that my relationships with my own family they range from neutral to good. And we can't control other people's behavior. We can't control how others perceive us. But it's important, Aries, to remain in your upright energy and not allow the pettiness of other people to affect and control you. So now we're going to move on to the sign of Taurus. Taurus. I have wanted to do readings, but the energies have been difficult, and I've had other things that I needed to do as well. So I've started the podcast, and I'm sure that you guys have seen that posted. I did the first 3 episodes as like one long video because my episodes are pretty short right now. The next episode I'm working on is all about mind control. And it's going to be a little bit longer, perhaps. We'll see. I kind of like doing the shorter episodes because I like them to be compartmentalized, and I want to be able to upload frequently. I'm less interested in that kind of, like, the whole channel should be a deep dive, right? The whole podcast should be a deep dive. Maybe I should break it up into smaller pieces so that people can handle the internal shock a little bit better. Alright, Taurus. So that is 23, 50-ish. Yeah, how many of these do I need? I'm going to pull 5. Let's look at it. I got one of the end cards. And I've got 8 of Cups, Ace of Pentacles, 8 of Swords, and 7 of Swords. So again, I'm going to address the swords first. 8 of Swords. Ooh, I'm going to read this one out loud. It's from Judges 3, verses 7 and 8. The Israelites did evil in the eyes of the Lord. They forgot the Lord their God and served the Baals and the Asherahs. That's Astaroth, for those of you paying attention. Astaroth going back to Ishtar, going back to Inanna, who went into the underworld and stole the 7 holy May from her sister, aries-virgo. There was a whole thing around that. The anger of the Lord burned against Israel, so that he sold them into the hands of the Cushan Rishathaim, king of Aram Naharaim, to whom the Israelites were subject for 8 years. The one true God, would not sell anybody into anything. But in this particular case, yes, 8 of Swords. Whoever put together this deck, they are spot on. They were trapped for 8 years into the servitude of this particular, and it was kind of, they were bouncing around between all these different places, right? Because they ended up, in servitude to the Egyptian pharaoh and things like that. But in this case, it's because they were serving false gods. You could also look at this like, if they were recognizing Yo as the true God, and they weren't serving these other gods, maybe they wouldn't have fallen into this servitude, and it's not God that sold them into servitude at all. It's actually the fact that they were following these false idols, and it led them directly into this path. But I wasn't there. I don't know for sure. That's just one take you could have on it. 7 of Swords. So this one is Luke 17 verses 3 and 4, and it's all about if your brother sins 7 times and begs you for forgiveness 7 times, you should forgive him all 7 times. And again, really, whoever put this deck together, my congratulations unto you. This is really good. Maybe I should be using it this way. Picked it up at a secondhand store in La Cañada, Flint Ridge. I'm enjoying it a lot so far. This is exactly what I needed. But, 7 of Swords is this very tricky energy. If he sins against you 7 times, and 7 times comes back to you and says, I repent, you must forgive him. But you're also allowed to mitigate your energetic exchange with people when they've proven themselves unreliable. And that's okay. You're allowed to do that. Ace of Pentacles. Oh, this is about when God took one of Adam's ribs to make a woman. So this is Genesis 2 verses 21 through 23. And, there's that saying, it takes money to make money. But we're all creatures of the flesh. That's why we're here. That's why no man can place himself above another with credibility. We all have our strengths, we all have our weaknesses. Even the person in the most disadvantaged circumstances has something good and beautiful to offer the world. Your financial circumstances really don't have anything to do with what you have to offer the world. But in this particular case, we're talking about the transmutation of flesh into another being. I'm not going to get into the Gnostic take on that at this time. We're just going to deal with what we have here. So there might be, for some of you, not necessarily like a contractual obligation to bear a child, but there might be something involved in the creation of another life here that is outside of the realm of just like a financial venture. Usually Ace of Pentacles is starting a new business or something like that. You might feel a bit trapped, and this might be a marriage situation where somebody wants to have a baby and you're not really feeling that. And that's fair, and that should be respected. Honestly, marriage is too much of a 360 deal. I say work out a prenup together. Don't get married. Just sign paperwork that ties you together legally in the ways that make sense for you as a couple. Because marriage is basically like what they call a 360 deal in the music industry, which is not a contract that you want to sign. It gives the label like control over everything, and they have their hand in your pocket constantly. 8 of Cups though is here too, and this one is about Jesus with Peter, John, and James. And then they all go up on this mountain, and Moses and Elijah appear to them in vision. And they talk to Jesus. And they're talking to him basically about the sacrifice that he's making for the benefit of mankind. They're like passing along God's vision for his life to end. And that is Luke 9 verses 28 through 31. This being the 8 of Cups, also being about departure from situations that no longer serve us. But you might have friends or relatives talking to you closely about this whole situation. And you might be getting also like ancestral guidance that this is the right thing to do. Ace of Pentacles could be a marriage, like could be a business contract. Although, you know, like, well, 2 of Cups we think of as like the card of love and union. Ace of Pentacles would very much be like a start of a business contract. So you might be proposing, and then the 2 of Pentacles would be more like bringing in that marriage energy. So you could be contemplating marriage, you could be contemplating having another child. Either way, you feel a bit betrayed by the situation, and you feel a bit trapped by it, which is not a good way to go into either of those ventures. And then of course, so these cards were made in 1993. Somebody might be born in 93, that might be significant. This is the opportunity that I'm going to take. So the first copyright of the New International Version of the Bible is 1973, which is a very free-spirited kind of a time in this country. These were printed in Oklahoma. I like that a lot, actually. The middle of the country. If you haven't been to Oklahoma, you should give it a shot. Missouri too. Missouri, Arkansas, Oklahoma. All those places are amazing and beautiful, and we don't give them enough credit. So Taurus, I guess the takeaway for that is I'm not going to say that God has a plan for your life, because I don't think that's... God is not going to sit there and plan out every single person's life. That's not why we're sent here. It'd be boring if it was. You might be a little free-spirited. Most of the Tauruses I know are a little bit free-spirited. And a lot of this is going to come through as allegory, honestly, because one thing I've been doing a lot more lately is like reading over tarot readers' shoulders, because so many of the readings that are available online are love readings. So this isn't really like a love reading, you know. Ace of Pentacles in this situation could be any kind of financial offer being made, in this case either on your behalf or like of your behalf. That they're... because it seems like you really feel trapped by a situation. You do have confidants. It does seem like you're able to get good information coming in about the situation. But it's something that you wouldn't do given your preference. And you might prefer a lot more freedom in that regard. I would say lean into that. Lean into your confidants, you know. Just because you got two ghosts hanging out in the clouds telling you what's best for your life doesn't mean that that's necessarily the case. And you do have support around you. It is important to forgive. It's very important to forgive. And not allow yourself to be led astray by false idols. Alright, so next we are moving on to Gemini. Gemini. Are you a Gemini kind of guy? The timestamp is 38:50. I haven't really used my walnut of clarification yet. I haven't needed it so far. I don't feel like. And pull two from here. Two from the middle of the deck. And this one from the back of the deck. Not the very back. It's on the bottom of the deck. King of Hearts. King of Hearts. But we won't be reading that right now. It might come up later. Might come up later. I'm going to drink a beverage. Okay. All right. Ooh, we get the Two of Hearts. Peter and his brother Andrew. That's where they're casting the net. And Jesus says, "Come follow me and I will make you fishers of men." And they just threw their nets into the ocean and they took off with Jesus. What a wild and crazy adventure for the Two of Cups, right? That's Matthew 4, verses 18 through 20. So you might be getting an offer to to follow your passion. You might have somebody literally come up to you on the street and be like, don't do that anymore. We're gonna go over here and we're gonna like do something way better. Ooh, 3 of Swords. So this is Matthew 26, 33 through 35. What all do we have here? Acts, Exodus, Proverbs. Okay, so we'll do the 2 Matthew cards first. And Peter having a heart-to-heart with Jesus. And ooh, this is the part where Peter disowns Jesus 3 times, even though he says he's not going to. Hold on. I need a moment. I hate that part. Because Judas, you know, Judas got money for it, right? But Peter was like his bestie. These 2 cards came out together. The 2 of Cups and the 3 of Swords. And they're both talking about, like, this is when Peter and Andrew join Jesus, right, with the 2 of Cups. And then here with the 3 of Swords, it's all come full circle. And he's like betraying Jesus. Not for money, not for fame, not for accolades. Peter betrayed Jesus because he thought he was doing the right thing. He thought he was protecting him. He thought he was like, you know. All the other disciples said the same thing. Not betray you 3 times. But Jesus knew. I mean, like, he was at a point in his life where he was getting all kinds of messages coming in because Dad was like, I wish he wouldn't say it like that. Anyway, we got 2 6s here. We got one from Exodus. And this one's talking, this is 6 of Pentacles, and it's talking about how the Lord declared the Sabbath. And, of course, the Sabbath being the day of rest, because for 6 days, the Lord had been like, I'm going to put this here, I'm going to put that there, I'm going to emanate this and emanate that. 24 treasuries. And so then he gets a day of rest, and he makes that holy as a day of rest. 6 of Pentacles, make sure that you have a good work-life balance at this time. There is some kind of journey going on with you and this other person, possibly Gemini, that, you know, they think very much that they are either protecting you or doing the right thing by you, and they're actually selling you out. And this is somebody who's been with you for a long time. That's one possibility. This could also be something to which you have a lot of loyalty. So it could be a person, but it could also be like a job, a career that you're super passionate about. It could be just something that you do that you're super passionate about. It doesn't have to be like something you earn money doing, because I don't see this as like a typical 9-to-5 type thing. This would be something that you're like really, really passionate about. Comes in as the 2 of Cups, and it leaves as the 3 of Swords. It's important to have that work-life balance. 6 of Pentacles. 6 of Swords, and we'll deal with the 9 of Swords last, because that's where all the anxiety comes from. That one. Whew, that came to me in a dream one time. Acts 2, verse 4. Tonight's exciting, you guys. I might only get like half of the signs done tonight. We'll see. As you can tell, I'm working by candlelight. There are 6 things the Lord hates, 7 that are detestable to him. Haughty eyes, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked schemes, feet that are quick to rush into evil, a false witness who pours out lies, and a man who stirs up dissension among brothers. And that is Proverbs 6, verses 16 through 19. That's the 6 of Swords in this deck. So I'm not trying to be judgmental when I say this, but if you're leaning into your Gemini energy and you're coming to this reading for that, I am going to mention that somebody might be seeing you do something that they strongly, morally disagree with. And it alienates the two of you. And they might not mention it to you. They might just retaliate, and you're never gonna understand why. They might tell you. You might be like, oh, you don't mind if I like dip into the till a little bit, do you? And they'll be like, no, go ahead. I would never tell. And then the till comes up short at the end of the night, and they're the one who's there with the manager, and they're like, actually, I know where that money went. 9 of Swords. Ooh, this is a good one. Yeah, Acts 2, verse 4, and then 15 through 17. This is the part where they're in the upper room, the beginning of Pentecost, and they're speaking in tongues. But speaking in tongues was a common practice at that time among people who were, soothsayers or whatever. But if you speak in tongues and you're not able to be understood, then it's of the devil. But if you speak in tongues and it's of the pure and holy light of the Lord, then they're able to understand each other perfectly. These men are not drunk, as you suppose. It's only 9 a.m. No, this is what was spoken by the prophet Joel. In the last days, God says, I will pour out my spirit on all people. Your sons and daughters will prophesy. Your young men will see visions. Your old men will dream dreams. So you probably already know about this. You might be feeling guilty about it, having weird nightmares about it. I mean, I doubt that. It could be coming through in your dreams in weird ways. Like your place of work being haunted. People, like shadow people following you around at work. Not saying that this is necessarily happening on the physical plane, just that might be. Or like being chased through your place of work. Those are things that might come up in your dreams, Gemini, in regards to this situation. And it's really tricky because this seems like something that you might not think is that morally reprehensible. Excuse me, but whoever this other person is, that you have a really deep loyalty with, they, for whatever reason, see it as incredibly morally reprehensible, to the point that they might have, well, no, let me correct that. Let me rewind, because it might not even be that they see it as that morally reprehensible. It might be something that they mention in passing to a supervisor because they think that it's not a big deal. They think like, well, this person's over here doing this. This other person's over here doing this. This must not be that big of a deal. And then it turns out that for whatever reason it is a big deal. So talk to your confidant. Be like, hey, what's the vibe here? It seems like they're tightening things up. Or, just test the waters. I would say best course of action in a situation like this, just be on like your P's and Q's really hard. Go back and read your workplace description again, read your user manual on the job. I am going to clarify this one. I'm going to clarify this one. The walnut of truth. So you know that inside a walnut looks like a brain. I don't even know that much about this. I just saw it in the case and I thought it looked rad. Individual responsibility being superseded by corporate expectations. So go on the corporate website. There's a big rebranding going on. And this might have been a workplace that was super uptight and they're relaxing. Or it could have been a workplace that, I mean, like, I'm in California, right? So I think like, oh yeah, you know, a lot of the really chill workplaces around here, it's like surfer vibes and stuff. Skater vibe, surfer vibe. This might be a workplace that previously had been run very much toward that skater or surfer vibe. And then either there was a corporate buyout or corporate started taking much more initiative at your particular location. And now they are cracking down on a lot of the skater and surfer activities that made it cool to work there. Hate that. Sorry. I don't think they should do that. But if you want to know my thoughts about that in particular, you'll just have to listen to the podcast because it's not very ASMR vibes of me to bring it up here. That's my soapbox. But there's going to be good information up there. Like a lot. My next episode is going to be all about like the technologies behind mind control. And what is feasible and what is probably not feasible from a scientific standpoint, because I feel like it's important to put that out there. Cancer. Cancer, you showed up in a dancer. What are we at right now? Okay. So, this is probably going to be like, probably do like an hour right now. And then maybe come back and do some more later. So we got 54 minutes for Cancer. Do other people make their segments like exactly timed? I feel like most people, they'll do like a certain amount of time for each sign, but I don't think this video is going to turn out like that. Okay. Cancer. Yes. Ooh, we got lots of wands. We have the other 10 because I've been pulling the cards out so we don't get repeats. But I might do it like Aries through Virgo and then Libra through Pisces. We'll see. So the 10 of Pentacles is all about Moses making the covenant of the 10 commandments with the Lord. And that is Exodus 34 verses 27 and 28. Now, of course, in Gnosticism, God's not ever going to speak directly to the people. That's like a big part of it. Moses was there with the Lord 40 days and 40 nights without eating bread or drinking water. And during that time, he wrote down the 10 Commandments. So again, this sounds like a situation where Moses was kind of taking matters into his own hands. You know, he saw these people who were falling prey to these gods that were leading them into servitude to this king. Which, what was the point of escaping from Egypt if we were just going to end up right back in the same situation again? The Ten of Pentacles is this, in this case, there's a legacy there, but whenever you get money involved in these situations, that is how people end up divulging their rights to others. I think divulging is a good word to use there. Money's supposed to be a system. Be on my tiniest soapbox. To replace the need to have something that somebody wants to trade. It's a standardization of commerce. So it's not something that should or really can be hoarded effectively. And in this particular situation, Moses went up to the top of the mountain. He didn't have any food or water with him. And he stayed up there a very long time. And he did that because he needed to come up with a solution that was going to keep his people out of servitude. He was so committed to this that he didn't want the children of Israel to be in servitude. He wanted them to be able to do their little, well, the way I think of it is doing my little silly guy activities, you know. Just being free to be themselves, basically. And if you can just not covet your neighbor's wife like one time, and not worship graven images like one time, guys, one time. Cancer, you might be very much like in this situation where you're like, if you could just for like 2 seconds not do something that's so self-destructive. That's kind of how the Ten of Pentacles is coming across in this deck. I really like that. We're going to address all of the wands together. And then I'm going to come back and look at the ace. Ooh, this one's Daniel too. No, Daniel 3:24 through 26. So this is all about throwing Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego into the furnace. This part slaps so hard. Honestly, even like as a very tiny child, like this part resonated with me when he like threw them into the furnace and they were okay. So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego surviving the furnace of Nebuchadnezzar on the Three of Clubs here. Trial by fire. There's a lot of cards about that in your reading right now, Cancer. Excuse me for burping. This one, Five of Wands in this deck, is about being prepared. Matthew 25 verses 1 through 4. And this is about At that time the kingdom of heaven will be like 10 virgins who took their lamps and went out to meet the bridegroom. 5 of them were foolish, and they left the lamp oil behind, and then 5 of them took jars to bring extra oil for the lamp. I don't know. I mean, like, a lot of times, I guess, in ancient days, people were meeting for the first time on their wedding day because it was unlucky to do otherwise. No, that's not always true. But maybe when you bring that lamp oil along, you get extra time to actually talk to this person and get to know them. And so it would be foolish to be too hasty in our judgments of other people because we haven't really gotten to know them yet. The 2 of Wands. This is Matthew again, 18 verses 19 through 20. And it's about if you can get 2 people on earth to agree about anything, it will be done for you by the Lord above in heaven. For when 2 or 3 come together in my name, there am I with them. So that's all about, these are all about the power of togetherness. The power of preparedness and togetherness. And how we really wish the best for the people around us. And we really want them to be able to succeed in the things that they set forth to do. And of course, Ace of Cups, we've got John 3:16, very popular verse. For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whosoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life. For God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but to save the world through him. Cancer, you should not be feeling so burdened, because we already had a guide to do that. That's kind of the sense that I'm getting from the Cancer reading, is just that, like, it's not so much that the imperfections of others bother you. It's that you want so much more for the people that you love. And you get so much more out of your togetherness with other people that you wish everyone could experience that. And you wish everybody could be a part of the communion that you offer. But just as Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego survived the fiery furnace, so too I think that you will come through this and find better ways to relate to those in your sphere. Everyone is imperfect. I'm imperfect. I'm assuming you're imperfect, but I don't know you all personally, so I wouldn't put that judgment upon you. But we're going to move on to the next sign, which is Leo. I had some visitors a minute ago, and the guy backed up real close to my car, and I honked the horn, so now I'm a little bit paranoid. But I'm sure it'll be fine. I didn't like give him a long blast or something. I was just like, hey, I'm back here. I'm in the car. Usually they're just up here, you know, racing and generally causing havoc and mayhem. And I respect that. That's what people should be doing up here. I come up to here to sleep. I'm wrong for doing that. I am going against the norm of what should be going on the tube. That's on me, and I accept that. But it did look like he was going to back into my car on purpose. I wanted to let him know I was watching, whether that for better or for worse. You know, usually I would like to mind my own business, which is perfect going into the Leo reading. That is... okay. Gift of accessibility. That's coming through. The gift of accessibility. So, I don't know how that applies to you in particular, Leo. Oh yeah, my man on a motorcycle. I'm gonna hear some of that. That's the verve. That's the ambiance. Yeah, let's see what we got here. Ooh, we got the other Joker, which is Luke 4, verses 5 through 8. The devil led him up to a high place and showed him in an instant all the kingdoms of the world, and he said to him, I will give you all their authority and splendor, for it has been given to me, and I can give it to anyone I want to. So if you worship me, it will all be yours. And Jesus answered, It is written, worship the Lord your God and serve him only. You get a lot of tempting offers, don't you, Leo? I know I do. None of them so tempting as to take me out of the glamorous lifestyle that I'm currently living. But who knows, maybe all that's about to change. Would I make a deal with the devil if it meant fame and fortune? At this point, I don't think I would. So we've got 2 pentacles. We've got the 4 and the 8. The 4 being half 8, or 8 being twice 4. And I do want to read the Ezekiel first, and then we'll go into the Genesis. This is Ezekiel 7, verses 2 and 3. The end has come upon the 4 corners of the land. The end is now upon you, and I will unleash my anger against you. I will judge you according to your conduct and repay you for all your detestable practices. 4 of Pentacles is often a card about conserving resources, like, oh no, stay in that job just a little bit longer, I promise. But it can be hard to stay in a job when you know that there's things going on that are utterly reprehensible. And people don't take it seriously. They don't think that it's a problem. The 4 of Pentacles is the 4 corners. That's literally the 4 corners of the land. And you could be coming to an end with a lot of things right now. I'm obviously going to be reading a lot of my own experiences into this, as it is a tarot reading. I think there's a lot of situations these days where people are really sloppy. And Leo, you might be having a really hard time dealing with that. Sloppy, careless, callous. A lot of other situations that you're not judging people for necessarily. Like, it's not a personal issue. It's like you cannot continue to do this because it is not right. And you're having to navigate that. Oh, this one's about Sarah and Abraham. And when Sarah bore Isaac, and then God was like... So this is Genesis 21, verses 1 through 4. So this part actually doesn't get to where the Lord is like, you have to sacrifice your son. But that is what this leads up to. This is the part just talking about the circumcision. So the circumcision being part of the covenant with the higher power. And Abraham was 100 years old when Isaac was born. So he had already lived this very long life, and he and Sarah were childless for a very long time. And so this was like a blessing given to him because he had waited for so long in order to have this. Eight of Pentacles is like that thing that's taken a really long time to develop. So you might be older and kind of thinking like, oh, God, I'm never going to get to a place in my life where my expertise or all of the hard work that I've put towards what it seems like nothing, that those things are not going to pay off. We have the Jack, which Jack of Hearts is being called the Fool here, too. It says in his heart, there is no God. They are corrupt, their deeds are vile. There is no one who does good. The Lord looks down from heaven on the sons of men to see if there are any who understand, any who seek God. And that is Psalm 14, verses 1 and 2. And of course, you can look at the progression through the tarot as like how you would deal with the path to enlightenment in some ways. And so recently I've been attending the Manly Hall reading group at PRS, and there's one person there in particular who really like saw the Ascended Masters and was like, I'm going to follow that route and try to become enlightened, to paraphrase a lot. And to me, it doesn't work like that. You don't seek out that path. You end up on that path. It kind of collects those who do feel this way, that there is no God. People on this earth are corrupt. Their deeds are vile. And there's no one here who does good. And people who feel that way find themselves searching a lot for those who feel the way that they do. And want something better for all of us. And the final card is the Queen of Wands, and we're talking about the Queen of Sheba. She saw all the wisdom of Solomon, the palace, food on his table, seating of his officials, and she was like totally overwhelmed. She was like, King Solomon, you were like so hot right now. I mean, it can be easy to be bowled over by someone who is able to have it all together. And I think that's the Queen of Wands energy here, is somebody who is able to recognize greatness when they see it. The queens are receptive energy. So I'm not saying that you are like in your feminine. I'm saying that you're in a receptive energy. I don't read the cards as masculine and feminine. I read them as active and passive, because I feel like that's much more effective. All of these terms like divine masculine, divine feminine, twin flame, all of that stuff gets thrown around. It's a distraction from what's actually going on. And Leo, I know that you respect me for that. What it looks like right now is that you are able to recognize greatness in others. And you are at a point in your journey where you don't just recognize the ways that people are falling short of your expectations. You also recognize where you're able to find and meet people who challenge you, who have the same values that you do, who are able to provide you support in things that you didn't think you would necessarily be supported in. And there are going to be big things coming through on account of it. What was that Four of Pentacles card again? Let's see. Yeah, the four corners of the land. I will judge you according to your conduct and repay you for all your detestable practices. People are starting to see the repercussions of their actions. And I don't just mean that in a punitive sense. I mean that when someone does something over a long period of time, you see a progression, but they don't necessarily see that progression until they wake up one day and all of a sudden here they are. And this could be everything from popular culture taking a sudden paradigm shift, which I do think is about to happen. I think there's about to be a lot of really sudden paradigm shifts. And if you've been keeping upright and in your highest energy, hopefully it will be in your favor. But it can be very hard. Others judge us super harshly. I think sometimes more harshly than we judge ourselves. People say that, oh, you're always your worst critic, but nobody knows you better than you know yourself. People are going to be judging you on things that are not real. They're going to be potentially lying about you, potentially saying things about you that they mean very well, but are not true, which can also end up backfiring and not being great. So there's just a lot of things like that around you right now, Leo. And you're a fixed sign, you're fire energy. I'm confident that we will all weather the storm just fine. Not even going to talk to the walnut about that. Let's move on to the sign of Virgo. So, Virgo, I keep doing that so I can check the times. God, I get so paranoid sometimes about even showing like the slightest hint of aggression. Like, that guy got super close to my car, and I just, like, beeped the horn really quick. But I'm still like, oh, he's gonna, like, be mad at me. They're gonna come back. They're gonna slit my throat. They're not. I don't think they're gonna do that. It's been a crazy 2 years, honestly. Just very, like, a lot going on. I think for everybody. I don't think I'm alone in this. Alright, Virgo. I also am invested in this because I'm a Virgo rising. Oh, we got some hearts here. We got more Matthew. Ooh, we got Esther. I'm going to read Esther first. This is very Matthew heavy. And then we got some Chronicles. Oh, this is about Esther getting picked ahead of Vashti, because the king was attracted to Esther more than any of the other women, and she won his favor and approval more than any of the other virgins. So he set a royal crown on her head and made her queen instead of Vashti. And then there was a great banquet just for her and for all his nobles and officials. And that's Esther 2, verses 17 and 18. Esther was an amazing woman. Honestly, Queen of Swords, good on you, Virgo, for being in that energy. Her husband was a piece of work, but we'll try not to be too judgmental. We'll just eat his hat one time per year and deal with it that way. Wait. Which hat? You mean like this hat? Wait. I too have a 3-cornered hat. Yeah. Let's look at the hearts. Should we look at the hearts or look at the 5s? They're all Matthew. Let's look at the 5s first and then transition into the hearts. So the man who had received the 5 talents brought the other 5. Master, you entrusted me with 5 talents. Look, I gained 5 more. And he says, well done, good and faithful servant. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. And that's Matthew 25, 20 through 21. So this could be like picking up extra skills. You're already very skilled at what you do, but you're picking up more. Now, this is the 5 of Pentacles, which is usually a card about like destitution. But I like the way that it's handled here in that those are the times when you are forced to up your skill set in order to be more successful. So not only are you winning the king's favor, but you're also picking up all these skill sets along the way. Oh, and this one, so this is Matthew 14, verses 19 and 20. And this is about how Jesus took 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish, and he broke them all up such that he was able to feed like 5,000 men and then even more women and children. And that really is the thing that held Woodstock together, isn't it? I'm kidding. That was the Sermon on the Mount. I shouldn't be so blasphemous. But you're going to be able to give more to other people than you think you actually have. And that is the 5 of Hearts in this deck. So that would be 5 of Cups, which is usually disappointment. But the 5s are kind of like coming from a place of lack when you're in the passive energy of the Pentacles and the Cups. And I'm really enjoying reading with this deck because it really does like put a much more positive perspective and spin on these things. And it is more about like, when you are coming from a place of lack, how do you give more to others? So we've got upping your skill set, and we also have like finding ways to break things up such that it gives more to other people than what you originally had. And then the 7 of Cups. This is often about illusion. This is Matthew 18, verses 21 and 22. Oh, and this is again about like the forgiveness of the brother. So how many times Peter says to Jesus, how many times should I forgive my brother when he sins against me? Up to 7 times. And Jesus is like, not just 7 times, but like 77. And then, of course, if you watched like earlier in the readings, the 3 of Swords came up. And I don't remember if it was Taurus or Gemini. And that was all about how Jesus was like, Peter, you're going to betray me 3 times tonight. And Peter's like, no, I would never do that. Sometimes we betray people, we don't realize it. And a lot of times when people are betraying us, I don't think they're the wiser. I don't think they understand that's what's happening. It's very... I think it's actually kind of rare that people are conniving and strange about things. I think a lot of times they only see their own motivations in situations, and that'll be like counter to what your need is in a particular situation, and that's how betrayals occur. But yeah, forgive, don't forget, set boundaries. This one's about King Solomon too. So we're beginning and ending with King Solomon. We've got the Queen of Swords talking about Esther, and now we've got the King of Hearts talking about 2 Chronicles 9 verses 22 and 23, looking at King Solomon. Queen Esther was very wise, and King Solomon was very wise too. Greater in riches and wisdom than all the other kings of the earth. All the kings of the earth sought audience with Solomon to hear the wisdom God had put in his heart. So, everybody's heard like a lot of the stories of King Solomon, whether it's like threatening to cut a baby in half, the way that he got the demons to like build basically the great temple in Jerusalem. Had a very close communion with God. And Virgo, I think that you have a lot of wisdom, you have a lot of charm, and you are able to keep that closer relationship with your higher power or your spirit guides. Obviously this is very Jesus and Bible skewed reading, so it might not resonate with everybody, but you're going to take a lot, or you're going to take a little and turn it into a lot. You might not think that you even really have that much to offer right now, and you're going to have to forgive all of the people who were haters and didn't think you could do it. You don't have to forgive them, but it would be better if you did. And, you know, not everybody can be born into perfection. And it's very hard for others to recognize that in somebody else. It doesn't come to the surface right away. So, that is going to be the first half of the readings. And I might be wearing different clothes when you see me again.